The gold was already on the table when Marcus Hale made the worst decision of his life. Aldrich Voss slid a photograph across the restaurant linen, grainy, taken from a distance but unmistakable. A rock face split open along a natural fault line, and running through it like a wound, a vein of raw gold so thick it made Marcus's chest tighten. "Where is this?" Marcus said. "Eastern Europe," Voss said. "A forest called Valdren. Never heard of it. Nobody has. That's the point." Marcus picked up the photograph. His hands were steady. They were always steady. 52 years old, $4 billion, and not a single moment of his life had been handed to him. He had taken everything he had ever owned from the ground, from governments, from competitors who underestimated him. He was not a man who felt fear in the presence of opportunity. "Why hasn't anyone extracted it?" he asked. Voss looked down at his glass. "Because of what the locals say happens when you try." Marcus set the photograph down. "I don't pay attention to what locals say." "I know," Voss said quietly. "That's why I came to you." 3 weeks later, 4 men walked into the Valdren forest at dawn. Marcus, Voss, a surveyor named Callum, a security contractor named Reeves who asked no questions and kept one hand near his jacket at all times. No permits, no records, no one who knew where they were going. The forest took them immediately. Within 10 minutes the canopy had swallowed the sky and the light had turned a strange, flat gray. Callum checked his GPS and looked up slowly. "Signal's gone," he said. "Then we walk," Marcus said. Voss had gone silent the moment they crossed the tree line. His eyes moved constantly, scanning the gaps between the trees. The forest itself was completely, unnervingly quiet. No birds, no wind, no sound of any living thing except the 4 of them and their footsteps, which seemed too loud, too present, like the silence was leaning in to hear them better. They found the gold by midday. It was almost insultingly easy, the same fault line from the photograph, the same thick vein running through exposed rock. Marcus crouched and pressed his fingers against it and felt something pass through him that he couldn't name. Something that wasn't quite excitement. Something older. "This is it," Voss whispered. "This is everything," Marcus said. They worked through the afternoon. It was Callum who stopped first, standing up slowly and turning in a full circle with an expression that made Reeves reach for his jacket. "The trees," Callum said. "I marked 3 of them when we arrived. They're not where I marked them." Marcus didn't look up. "Trees don't move." "I know," Callum said. And then, barely audible, "I know that." Nobody slept well that night. They packed up at first light and started the hike out. Marcus was already calculating numbers in his head, already feeling the particular satisfaction of a man who had taken something the world said couldn't be taken. The gold was heavy in their packs and he welcomed the weight of it. It was Voss who stopped walking. He stood at the edge of a small clearing and turned around slowly, counting under his breath. Then he looked at Marcus with an expression that didn't belong on the face of a grown man. "Did you count us going in?" he asked. 4, Marcus said. Voss nodded slowly. "Count us now." Marcus looked around the clearing. Himself, Voss, Callum, Reeves. 4, he said. "Same as before." Voss stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned and kept walking and said nothing for the rest of the hike out. Marcus noticed that he didn't look relieved. He looked like a man who had asked a question and gotten exactly the wrong answer. Back in London, the gold went into the vault and the NDAs got signed and everyone disappeared. Voss took his payment without making eye contact. Callum sent a single text, "Don't contact me again," and went dark. Reeves vanished the way men like Reeves always do, without a trace. Marcus told himself this was normal. People got spooked. He poured a drink, looked out at the London skyline, and felt something close to peace. It lasted 4 days. On the 5th day his dog Atlas, a German shepherd who had never shown fear of anything in 7 years, refused to enter the east wing of the estate. He would walk to the doorway, stop completely, and back away with his ears flat and his tail low. Marcus tried coaxing him through. Atlas would scramble free every time and plant himself at the far end of the corridor, trembling silently. Then the security footage started bothering him. A shadow in the hallway camera outside his bedroom. Appearing at 3 a.m. on Tuesday. Again on Wednesday. Again on Thursday. Always the same corner. Always the same shape, tall, perfectly still, standing in a way that no member of his staff ever stood. His estate manager checked every log. Nobody had been in that corridor on any of those nights. Camera fault, Marcus told him. Replace it. The new camera showed the same shadow on the very first night. He started waking at 3 a.m. without an alarm, lying in the dark with the absolute feeling that something in the room was watching him. Not moving, not making a sound, just watching, with a patience that felt enormous and ancient and completely indifferent to his fear. He called Voss on day 10. The number rang out. He called again the next morning and a neighbor answered. She'd gone to check on him after he stopped responding to messages. Her voice was very calm in the way people get when they are trying not to fall apart. Aldrich Voss was gone. His belongings were still there. His coat on the hook. His coffee cup on the table, still half full, gone cold. His phone on the counter with a single video file on it that the neighbor described to Marcus in a slow, careful voice. 4 hours of footage from the forest. The camp at night. The team asleep by the dying fire. And at the edge of the frame, where the firelight ended and the dark began, something crouching. Perfectly still. Not an animal, the shape was wrong for an animal. It didn't move for the entire 4 hours except for the final 11 seconds, when it turned its head slowly toward the camera with a deliberateness that suggested it had known it was being filmed the entire time. Marcus sat with that for a long time. Then he thought about Voss counting them in the clearing. 4 going in, 4 coming out. And he remembered something that hadn't occurred to him until this exact moment, that Reeves had already cleared the tree line when Marcus had counted. He had counted himself, Voss, Callum, and a 4th figure standing close enough to a person that he hadn't looked carefully enough to know the difference. He brought in a historian. A small precise woman named Drive. Elena Shore, who arrived with 2 bags of documents and spread them across his dining table and spoke for 2 hours while Marcus felt the ground disappear beneath him. The forest was a boundary, she told him. A threshold kept separate by an agreement older than any government, any church, any map. The gold was not a resource. It was a seal. And the rule attached to it was simple enough that children in the region grew up knowing it without being taught. You can walk in. You cannot take. She found the oldest written account near the bottom of her second bag and read it to him in a quiet, even voice. What is taken from the ground must be replaced. And until it is, the keeper walks with the taker. Marcus looked at her. What is the keeper? Doctor. Shore met his eyes without flinching. The question isn't what it is, she said. The question is how much longer it will remain patient. He made his decision that night. He packed the gold himself, carried it to his car, and walked out of the front door of his estate at 11:47 p.m. His assistant begged him to wait. He told her to go home. The security camera above the door captured him leaving clearly. It also captured what followed him through the doorway. Visible for 3 frames before the camera failed completely. Tall, unhurried, moving with the certainty of something that had been waiting a very long time. Marcus never reached the airport. His assistant found him the next morning in the corner of his bedroom, whispering. The gold was back in the vault. Nobody could explain how. The Valdrin forest is still there. The locals still don't go in. Every map of that region labels it the same way it always has. Do not enter. Do not take. Now you know why.